Film Top of the morning, film jammers. Now, the ARRI Skypanel and the Litepanels Gemini are two popular lighting fixtures for film and cinema. Are you ready to see these two legends of light go face to face in the ultimate LED monster truck showdown?
What?
So LED technology has really evolved in the last few years. LEDs are very popular on set now, especially with the introduction of the ARRI Skypanel in 2015 and the Litepanels Gemini, which came in a little later in 2017. One of the great things about LEDs is that they put out a lot of soft light while consuming relatively little power.
You can run 4 of these sky panels or 5 Geminis on one standard 20 amp circuit, compared to just one 2K soft light.
Let's take a closer look at these two LED fixtures. Andrew here is going to help us out. He's a professional gaffer. He's worked in the lighting department in movies like Disney's Tomorrowland, Parker with Jason Statham, and just a few weeks ago, Kilroy was here. So you're a gaffer on Kevin Smith's last movie.
Yeah, it was a good time. We used 2 of the ARRI Skypanels S60s. We used them in strobe mode. We used them in daylight, tungsten.
Did you and Kevin go canoeing or anything like that together?
No.
Great. Let's talk weight. You're gonna need a combo stand to mount either of these lights. They've both got junior pins on the bottom, and now the Skypanel has a separate ballast, so you can take off some of the weight of the stand.
The Skypanel weighs in at 29 pounds without a ballast, and the Gemini is 22 pounds with the ballast. If you go on and add the ballast to the Skypanel, it gets up to around 36 pounds.
So the Skypanel is a bit heavier. It does have more power, so that makes sense, but for the one-man band and smaller crews, the integrated ballast on the Gemini and the lighter weight are pretty nice. Battery power. So both lights have the ability for portable power. The Skypanel has either V-mount or gold mount adapters, and it's powered by 2 batteries.
Litepanels announced their battery plate at NAB 2018, but at this time it's still in the works. So if you need portability of the V-mounts, the Skypanel is it.
Yeah, with the Gemini, you can power off the 3-pin XLR with a larger brick battery, but these can be expensive, much more than V-mounts. The Skypanel has quite a bit more range in the top end than the Gemini in the Kelvin spectrum, and the Gemini just ekes out the Skypanel in the lower end.
The Skypanel having the extra color range on the higher Kelvins does make it more versatile and more suited for creative applications. The Skypanel also has X and Y coordinates for dialing in exact color schemes.
So you can be extremely precise with color matching. The Gemini does have HSI, RGB, and CCT modes though, so both of these fixtures are really powerful tools. Panel surface area is important for light wrap around your subject. The wider the surface area, the more wrap you'll get.
Skypanel wins out here and is slightly wider, but the Gemini is very close.
More light equals more love. And you need a lot of that. This guy over here, everybody.
Wow.
Foot candles are a measurement of light intensity.
We're going to do a test on each fixture to see how much light each one puts out at 10 feet.
It's the gang symbol for 10 foot candles. So the Sekonic C700, it gave us an accurate reading of 115 foot candles, which is actually what ARRI rates the light at as well. So pretty close to what the settings were. We're gonna now try it at tungsten. So we're 10 feet away from the Skypanel. We're in tungsten now, and we got a couple different readings. We took a few just to make sure. We averaged them out. We got one at 114, one at 116, right?
Yep. Cool. And one at 120.
So the readings we got are very similar to what ARRI's speccing their light at. The Skypanel's going down. We did our test with that. Now we're gonna put the Gemini up.
All right, so with the Gemini in daylight mode, 5600 Kelvin, we're getting 97.5 foot candles at 10 feet. So now this is what's nice about this light. You have presets. So 32, you push number 2, and it goes right to 32. Tungsten, 3200 Kelvin. On the Gemini, we're getting 94.9 foot candles. So both fixtures are pretty similar, but the Skypanel has a bit more output. One interesting note, when the optional Skypanel intensifier panel is added, It's almost double the output of the Gemini.
How many candles you got? What do you get for 20-foot candles? 1 parsec.
Parsecs? Isn't that Star Wars?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't exist.
Front panel. So on the Sky panel, ARRI allows you to switch out your diffusion panel for different levels of diffusion.
Or you can add an intensifier panel. The Gemini has a more permanent diffusion panel.
So if you want the ability to swap out the panels, the Sky panel is more versatile here. So it's like the Leatherman of lights.
He's got a prop.
Okay, we're gonna test the color temp accuracy of the lights at 3200 degrees Kelvin
Tungsten.
and 5600 degrees Kelvin.
Daylight. We'll be using a Sekonic C700 color meter to test each fixture.
One of these, you mean?
Okay, that's not a toy.
Oh.
So the CRI value, the RA value, which is the average of all these collective colors, is coming in at 94.8 for daylight. And then tungsten was around 94.8 as well. Pretty even, pretty accurate between daylight and tungsten. The Gemini actually comes in at 98.4 CRI.
So the Gemini, according to our readings here, has a better CRI than the Sky panel of about 4 points.
Jeez. 96.7 on the daylight.
So the Gemini is a couple points higher in daylight mode as well. Not quite as high as when it was in tungsten, but still a couple points higher than the Sky panel. Flicker. So the Gemini is supposedly rated for higher speed slow motion filming, but we tested both the Sky panel and the Gemini at 2000 frames per second and didn't have any issues. So both fixtures are usable for high speed filming.
This is a great improvement over older generation LED fixtures, which often had flicker when filming slow motion, as well as standard tungsten fixtures, which typically flickered if they were under 2000 watts.
So you remember when those lights used to flicker? Those old
Back
days?
in the day, yeah.
And then we'd be like, whoa, son, get me a 5K.
Yep.
So one thing that it always comes down to is the cost. So I know, Andrew, you were like, oh, I want a quarter pounder with cheese, but then you were like, wait a minute, what's on that dollar menu?
The Sky panel is currently $5,700, while the Gemini is $4,300. So at around $1,400 cheaper, the Gemini is a good option.
I agree. And I will say that as a rental company, we do get more requests for the Sky panel, but for the owner-operator types, I really think the Gemini is a great and cheaper alternative. It's similar in features and output, and the lighter weight is a definite benefit. Gel modes and effects modes. Both fixtures have really powerful effects and color options. You can achieve very similar results. Some of these effects include police sirens, firelight,
You have a lot more variables and control with this fire versus the Sky panel.
lightning, TV flicker, and paparazzi.
The menus on the Gemini are more intuitive and quicker to navigate, but both give you a lot of creative freedom.
All right, Andrew, final opinion, Sky panel, Gemini.
I like both lights. The Gemini is definitely easier to rig just due to the weight difference.
Yeah, a lot lighter.
The Sky panel does have match color temp modes and things, match sources, so it's easier to mix color temperatures and match temperatures.
I like also the ease of use on the Gemini. I mean, using those little menus is really nice and it's intuitive.
It's a lot more intuitive than the Sky panel.
Yeah, the Sky panel, every time I use it, I kind of trying to find out how to
Yeah, when
adjust
I'm on
things.
set messing with all those knobs, you never get it right the first time.
Fun fact, Blade Runner 2049 used 100 sky panels in that one shot where they're in the room and the light's like panning over them as they're walking down the stairs.
I heard Star Wars, The Last Jedi, used over 1,000 sky panels.
What would you do if you had 1,000 sky panels? Here's our final comparison chart for the Skypanel S60 and the Gemini. While the Skypanel has a wider color range, more light intensity, and front panel options, the Gemini more than holds its own with a higher CRI rating, lightweight body with customizable preset buttons on the fixture, and effects options, as well as its lower price. Let us know in the comments which light you think is better, and of course, like, subscribe for more enlightening tips and tutorials. So I was like, check out my belt, and she was like, really? Is that like, it's all brass? And I was like, holy crap, dude, the cops are here. Run!
No, that's the sky panel cop effect. Oh boy.
At the Copa. You know Barry Manilow's coming to town?
No.
What did you write about McDonald's and a double, what the
Just wait, it's gonna be great. Ready?
You're an idiot.